What?
Why are you shaking your head?
You're welcome.
What's up, Fantasy Points? This is Outside the Box for on this show. I picked the brain of Scott Barrett, CEO of Fantasy Points and master of Dank Stats. We're going to go through position by position, first looking at some of the chalk, maybe poking holes in it, maybe saying that it's actually pretty good. And then we're going to find some more contrarian plays that we like as well. Scott, we don't have the Bengals on this slate. We don't have the Cowboys on this slate. So some of the defenses that we like to pick on are not here. And then we've got no Chiefs. We can't play Rashee Rice. So it's an interesting one for me. Do you like this slate? How are you feeling about it?
Yeah, I like this slate. I think this very much feels like a slate where you need high levels of correlation, maybe lean into game stacks. Everyone else kind of hates this slate. I think those are slates we typically do well. So I kind of like that. You know, the inner contrarian, inner outside the box hipster.
Yeah.
I like it.
I actually like it too. And it's one where I don't feel like there are that many plays that I absolutely love, but there are a lot of plays that it's like nobody's getting to, like some of the Neil Ass plays that we like to get to. Like those don't look as good on slates where you have Kyle Monunga at 4,500 or whatever. You have a bunch of like really strong value on slates like this. Those plays can really differentiate your lineup. So it's more fun to kind of find some of those more contrarian angles. So yeah, I'm excited to pick your brain and find some of those plays that maybe I'm not already on. We'll talk about them together. Have to note you finally switched up your hat. You've been wearing the W hat for forever, kind of confused people. Nobody confused though. The S obviously stands for Scott. So no questions about this one. We can start talking about quarterbacks. The chalk is going to the pay up options of Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson. We'll start there. How do you feel about these pay ups?
Yeah, I fought with Chris quite a bit on our projections call. And again, we're killing projections, still number one in the industry. I fought Chris quite a bit on Josh Allen ahead of Lamar Jackson. This is something we always talk about is I only play Josh Allen in spots where Buffalo needs him to be Superman. This doesn't, to me, look like a spot where they need him to be Superman. Lamar Jackson, on the other hand, is just fantasy dynamite. He was easily the most valuable quarterback in fantasy last year. He's easily the most valuable quarterback in fantasy this year. By fantasy points per full game, at least 3 fantasy points per game ahead of the next closest quarterback. I don't really know what Baltimore's defense is. If you look at the schedule adjusted stuff, they're easily bottom 5, but they had like the worst injury luck early in the season. And then they've really gotten a lot healthier, almost a fully clean injury report. So I think they're probably like an average defense, but really we just don't know. And if it is a bad defense, if Minnesota can hang, Vegas kind of thinks they can hang, then this is a spot where they're going to need Lamar Jackson to be Superman. He can be Superman, or he'll have to be Superman potentially all year. Last week, he didn't need to against Miami, threw 4 touchdown passes and a half of football. And yeah, that's the argument for Josh Allen is just Miami is that bad. And the argument Chris was making against me versus Lamar Jackson is, well, Buffalo has an implied point total of 4 points higher. And so if Josh Allen just has one of these games where he gets greedy, he kind of soaks up all the touchdowns. Yeah, he could break the slate. But, really to me, it's, also factoring in the stacking upside that I think Lamar Jackson has that edge over Josh Allen. I really don't have much interest in Josh Allen, especially because he's the chalkiest quarterback of the slate. Whereas Lamar Jackson's easily one of my favorites. And we'll get into Derrick Henry, but I like Derrick Henry a lot too. So I imagine having very heavy exposure to Lamar Jackson and then pretty good exposure to Derrick Henry on lineups without Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, I think that I'm on the same page as you as far as Lamar Jackson looking better than Josh Allen. Just like better game environment and easier to stack. Like Josh Allen, I never know who I want to stack Josh Allen with anyway. So I think I am with you on that. I started running some sims this morning and was not getting to any Josh Allen. Like, it was like hard to get there, even after kind of boosting up to see if I'd get some. Did not get to much. Josh Allen was getting to some Lamar Jackson. Beyond those two, we don't have any chalk. I mean, we were sorted by. Sorry, we're sorted wrong there. Drake May at 9%. Nobody else in double digits. Drake May at 9%. Baker Mayfield at 8%. Those two facing off against each other. Maybe pass funnels there. Do you have any strong take on Drake May and or Baker Mayfield?
I just had a minor note on Baker. I was talking to Jeff Mueller. We gave him a shout out on last week's podcast, and he speculated he thinks Baker Mayfield is a little banged up. He thinks he picked up an injury before the bye, and this is another one of those guys that just plays through everything. His last year at Cleveland, like his like shoulder fell off of his body and he kept playing, and it really hurt him in free agency. So that's just a minor note, but I did write up Baker because it's obvious, we're one of Baker's biggest fans. And it's top 7 matchup on paper. Usually crushes in these high total spots. But I do like Drake May more. He's currently 3rd in MVP odds. He's playing at one of the highest levels. He's tough to stack, but maybe the absence of Kayshon Boutte sort of condenses things even more. And either way, it's just, there's upside to this game stack where you could play it 2 different ways. I think Emeka Egbuka stands out. We can talk about him, but we've been over the Baker Mayfield wide receiver 1, how valuable that is. He should be healthier coming off of the bye. But our guy, Nick Spinola, who writes our Coverage Shell article, who's really like one of the best people in the industry at having arguments and angles no one else is on, and those hitting at an inordinately high rate. He likes going the opposite way, in part because New England has the 2nd lowest first read throw rate allowed. He likes going cheaper with a Tez Johnson and a Cade Otton. And then with Drake May, Nick and Ryan both really liked Stephon Diggs. I think that makes a lot of sense. We whiffed on him in weeks in the past, but it's still, a boomer bust wide receiver with upside. I really like Kyle Williams at the stone minimum 3K, where it's, Drake May playing at an MVP level, likes to spread the ball around. So that should be a valuable role for a minimum price wide receiver. If you don't agree with that, there's Hunter Henry. But clearly there's upside to this game stack.
Yeah, I like that call. That's interesting that you're in on Kyle Williams. I was kind of debating Kyle Williams as a low owned dart throw play with no booty. Kind of interesting there. We got a super chat here from Evan, says full PPR, Monungai, Vidal, Trevion Henderson, or QJ start 1. Guessing it's either Vidal or Henderson. Do you have any take here, Scott?
Do you say if it was PPR or not?
You said full PPR.
All right, it's for sure Monangai if Swift is out, but I don't think Swift is out. And then it's Vidal at 14 fantasy points, Trevion Henderson at 14.2. I guess slight lean to Trevion Henderson, but check our projections again on Sunday if you're a subscriber. I haven't given Vidal too much thought because he's not on the main slate, but I think our projections are right. It's a close coin flip, but slight lean.
Always be what it says. This is a daily fantasy show. Get these year-long guys out here. I mean, we usually don't answer season long, but if you send a super chat, I guess. Again, we talked about we need to set a minimum there because we don't really want to get away from the DFS stuff here. Jackson Dart, your boy, is 5,700. Nice matchup here with Chicago. How much interest in Jackson Dart at 5,700?
That's who I wrote up as the cash play this week. I think he's really an unbelievable. Well, I write him up in the everything report and just like glowing in praise. I really think he's playing at such a. You have these Jaguars fans hate me because I'm very critical of Trevor Lawrence. They think he's like an elite top 5 quarterback. If only his wide receivers didn't drop the ball at the highest rate in the league. And it is true, they lead the league in drops. It's just like the impact is overstated, and Trevor is just not it. But like, I think that's true of Jackson Dart. What they say of, I think Jackson Dart is playing at an extremely high level. It's just hard to tell because his receiving core is awful, tons of drops, whatnot. But certainly from a fantasy perspective, he is awesome. He ranks 4th in fantasy points per dropback, behind only Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts. By fantasy points per start, he ranks 4th best, behind only Jackson, Allen, Patrick Mahomes. He's at least 1K cheaper than all those names. It's a top 6 matchup. I will say, keep a close eye on the weather. Last I checked, it was chances of rain, snow with 15-mile-per-hour winds. It matters a little bit less with the hypermobile quarterbacks. And I really don't try to care too much about the weather until Sunday morning, just because things can change so dramatically. But it is at the very least something to keep an eye on. And then with the stack, I guess we'll get into it, but you can look at the schedule adjusted stuff for Wandale, where on paper it looks like the best slot funnel matchup possible. Although Chauncey Gardner-Johnson joined the team very recently, so maybe that's a mirage. We could talk about Darius Slayton, who's gotten really unlucky, but has come very close to some big plays. The bring back would be Kyle Monangai if DeAndre Swift is out, or Romo Dunze. There's a little bit of squeaky wheel narrative there. I was tweeting with James Odunze over the week and whatnot. But yeah, I love Jackson Dart. He's honestly a lot lower owned than I expected him to be. I expected him to be, I don't know, at least up there with the more expensive guys.
I got a comment on, we got Rims Tims in chat, says, what's the number to use when shouting out the show after doing good in a contest? I just saw that he had given me a super chat as I was going through my super chats that I think I missed a super chat last week. So first of all, appreciate it if I did not respond to that. But Scott, if people want to shout out the show after they do well in the contest, you can just at Scott Barrett DFB, myself, I'm at PlayerQDFS, and then the Fantasy Points main account, which is it at Fantasy PTS? I want to say, I can't remember exactly what the just shout us out there on Twitter if you want to give a shout out. But appreciate that. And if you have the highest scoring, we've been not doing this the past few weeks, but I think we'll still do it. If people the highest scoring, highest amount won on a single lineup can win some merch from Fantasy Points. If you do, give us shouts on social. Always appreciated. By the way, while we're talking about it, you can also use promo code OTB15 to get 15% off on any Fantasy Points product. It's already at greatly reduced prices for the remainder of the NFL season. So if you haven't already signed up for Fantasy Points, you should definitely get in on it. Whether you just want some content or the full data suite, all of it is highly discounted right now. You can use promo code OTB15 to get an additional discount there. Back to quarterbacks, man, this is a very spread out quarterback slate. I don't know, maybe you have some stronger takes than I do, but like Jackson Dart looked good to me. I don't know that I'm going to get to much Jacoby Brissett, but like he's been much better than Kyler, and he's only 4,600. Do you have interest there?
On who is this?
Jacoby Brissett.
Yeah, he's actually one of my favorites. I think he's awesome. Yeah. He's super cheap, so he allows for a really unique construction where you can get JSN and Puka, or CMC and JSN or Puka, something like that. The stack is obvious. It's Trey McBride. Only 3 starts with Jacoby Brissett, and already has more career touchdowns with Brissett than he does with Kyler Murray. And Brissett's been really productive. He's averaging 23.4 DraftKings fantasy points per game in his 3 starts this season. That would rank 3rd best among all slate eligible quarterbacks. Again, he's 100 more than minimum price. He played so well, he just got Kyler Murray benched. He had 3 straight games with 250 plus passing yards and 2 touchdowns. Kyler Murray's never done that consecutively. Kyler Murray's done that, I think, once or twice since 2021. It's a more functional offense. It's a big boy offense with a quarterback who's not child sized. It's a neutral matchup on paper, and only Okay, 8% ownership. Yeah, I think I think he's a really strong play. Did you ask me about Sam Darnold too, or was it really just Jacoby here?
We can talk about Sam Darnold if you have things to say about Sam Darnold. He is
Yeah, where
projected
is
for
he
5%
showing?
ownership. Yeah,
Yeah.
5% ownership at 5,800 for Darnold.
So I didn't write him up, and I was on caching points last night filling in for Jake, and I said I don't see the point to playing Darnold when I could just play Jacoby and have JSN as the bring back. And I'm kind of thinking twice about it, just because you have Jake Bobo out, you have Torrey Horton doubtful, you have Cooper Cup questionable, and really no one else but Rashid Shaheed. And so, like, this was a debate that Chris and I had on the projections calls. Like, what do you give a Jacoby Myers in his first game with a new team? He gave Jacoby a 67% route share. I think that's right. I forget what he gave Rashid Shaheed. I think this is before the news came out that everyone was really hurt. But, like, I don't think they have a choice but to play a lot of Rashid Shaheed. And then it's also, Shaheed kind of knows the offense. Clint Kubiak was his play caller last year. And he was great with Kubiak. And Shaheed is also one of my all-time guys. And it's something that Ryan and I have talked about all year is like, if Cooper Cup wasn't total dust, this would be such a valuable role. Oh, this happened last week. I never play showdown. I went all in on Torrey Horton, had a very profitable showdown. It's because this offense, when they're condensed formations, very few wide receivers actually on the field together. So there's lesser target competition. There's a higher expected target per route run rate, a really high horizontal route rate, which is the money routes and whatnot. And so it's just, we've been saying this wide receiver 2 role could be really, really valuable. So this is something that wasn't in the slate breakdown, but something I've been mulling over all morning is I like Sam Darnold doubles, and I think Rashid Shaheed, although he's not going to pop as a projections value, and Sims aren't going to give him to you, I think is underrated.
You're not afraid of this Arizona defense. They just had a pretty good game against the Cowboys on Monday Night Football. But you think that Seattle's just going to be able to get it done, or could be able to?
What's that?
You're not afraid of this Arizona defense that just put up a great game against the Cowboys offense on Monday Night Football?
Yeah, I don't really know. I don't really know. Pepper Tony's in our comments talking about how Rich Rebar, who's the GOAT, love Rich, says Arizona's really good against the play action. That's where a ton of Darnold's production has come from. But Ryan, or maybe it was Nick, argued it the opposite way, where, Greg Olson, this big talking point all week is just how what Seattle's doing is they're playing base and defenses are matching it, or they're playing heavy personnel and defenses are matching it with base when they should be playing nickel. And they're just shredding and Arizona's been falling for that all year. There's certainly some volatility here, but I mean, it's also Sam Darnold playing at an MVP level. And he just added like a major upgrade at wide receiver 2 and, shootout potential. So I don't know. I just think this is a fun game to stack.
Yep. Okay. JJ McCarthy. I mean, we're going to the Lamar side. JJ McCarthy is only 4,900 in possibly a good matchup with Baltimore. As you said, we're not really clear how good of a matchup that is, but he has 2 rushing touchdowns in 3 games. How much interest, if any, do you have in JJ McCarthy?
So I wrote him up and I deleted him from the slate breakdown. To me, I just really have such a clear lean towards Lamar. And I think like the DFS pros who are maybe not like elite NFL ball knowers are just going to be like, oh, he's a great play because it's in that game. Opposing quarterbacks are correlated, but he's so cheap. It just gives you so much more to the lineup and more upside and whatnot. But I'm just going to go with the YKB take of like, I just think Lamar is just so far ahead of everyone else. I think he like wrecks leagues, your fantasy league from here on out. I've been writing about him in the Everything Report every single week. Like, make sure you trade for him, make sure you buy low. And so that's really my lean, but I mean, I get it. Like we've talked about this constantly, Neil. We've talked about the Kevin O'Connell quarterback being such a cheat code. Nick Mullins had over 400 passing yards in 2 of 3 starts. Josh Dobbs made us a ton of money in DFS. Carson Wentz, before his shoulder fell off, was doing the same exact thing. And yeah, I think McCarthy is a talented player. I think the dude had a high ankle sprain, and like it was one game, and everyone wrote him off as dead. And yeah, like I said, I don't know. Maybe the Ravens are bottom 5, which is where they rank by EPA per dropback allowed or points per drive allowed. But
Yeah.
to me, it's like if McCarthy's putting up points, like Lamar is going crazy. But hey, you know what? You could do it for sure. Maybe it's a Derrick Henry nuke game, but yeah, like I said, I don't know. I just like Lamar a lot.
I don't know either. And I'm a Vikings fan. I'm a big JJ McCarthy fan. So like, I'm hopeful that he is going to be great. He's had 2 pretty good games, but he has not really shown the ceiling yet. And I'm a little bit afraid that like KOC is just kind of keeping the training wheels on him. Like maybe it's going to take a while before KOC really does take the training wheels off. So I'm not sure that he has like 350 yards.
Yeah, but can you keep the training wheels on him in this game?
Good point. Yeah, it could be that just Baltimore takes such a big lead that it's like, all right, just throw it down the field quite a bit. Yeah, I'm not sure.
So that's an argument for him,
right? That they might be forced to just throw the ball, like to give him those opportunities. Yeah, like I think 7% is fine. I guess is basically where I land on JD McCarthy. Like I want to have some exposure. I don't think he's going to be somebody that I have 30 or 40% of. I think I'm going to be probably single digits. But yeah, I wish I had a stronger take than I have on JJ McCarthy, but he's looked generally pretty good. Beyond those, I mean, Stafford is getting 5% ownership at 6,500. I prefer Jared Goff at 5,900, also getting 5% ownership. Do you have a thought on these vets who are traded for each other?
Yeah, real quick, we got a super chat. Trade McBride for Drake London and George Kittle. I would do that. Yeah, assuming redraft. I guess in Dynasty, I would do that too. But can this be our last super chat? If you're going to ask a start sit or a trade redraft question, I feel like the cutoff has to be $10.
All right, I think that's a good cutoff. Yeah. If
okay.
Otherwise, people in chat can answer the question if it's less than $10. We do appreciate the super chats, but we need to focus on DFS.
So Stafford, here's a crazy stat. He's exceeded 26.5 DraftKings fantasy points in 4 of his last 5 games. That's something Josh Allen's only done twice all year. He's doing that without Puka or in another game that Puka left early. Over that stretch, he leads all slate eligible quarterbacks in passing yards by nearly 200, but passing touchdowns by 4. And so, yeah, this is a top 7 matchup on paper. I will say Kyle Shanahan has historically owned him. That wasn't the case in week 5, but that has, historically really had Sean McVay's number and Matthew Stafford. But no, I just think there's tremendous upside here. I probably don't think I could build a great double stack that would make me feel really good, but Stafford plus Puka, that's pretty easy. And then Jared Goff, we really like to play him at home. But still, it's like this is a potent top 3, top 5 offense in football that doesn't really take their foot off the gas as much as everyone else. It's a really bad defense, so they could certainly just hang dong on Washington. But of a lot of the quarterbacks we've talked about, he's probably lowest on the list.
Okay. Now from there, I don't have, I think, any other quarterbacks that I love that I'm planning to have a big stance on. I think like it's going to be a sort of flat exposures for me at quarterback, but I also think my pool is not going to go deeper than like 8 or so this week, which a lot of weeks it'll go, to like 15 or, I play a lot of the quarterbacks. I think this week, I don't think you need to go that deep, but maybe you can talk me into some other quarterback. Do you like any Marcus Mariota at 5,300? He runs a little bit, at least. Any interest there?
Yeah, I wrote him up, but kind of FanDuel only. It's the stat I had on him I thought was crazy. So over the last 2 seasons, Mariota averages 0.68 fantasy points per dropback. That ranks behind only Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, and Jalen Hurts. And there's like a pretty decent, 130 dropback sample there. But the flip side of that is, he hasn't really passed the eye test to me. No Terry McLaurin. I really think that's big. So I'm not going to get there on DraftKings, but undeniable value on FanDuel.
Okay. And then any other quarterbacks that you do like on this slate?
Yeah, it's Justin Fields.
Oh, Justin Fields. Interesting. Against Cleveland. 5,200. You're not worried about the team just throwing in the towel?
I mean, I'm worried about it, but 5,200, 2%, the upside, the reward greatly outweighs the risk to me. I mean, like, we just know who he is. He's just one of the most volatile players in fantasy, and so that's worth leaning into, especially in large field tournaments. He's hit at least 20 DraftKings fantasy points in 4 of 6 fully games this year, averages 27.8 in his top 50% of games. The stat I have on him that I keep bringing up is he ranks top 5 in fantasy points per dropback against man coverage, bottom 5 against zone coverage. Browns play man at a top 5 rate. He's going to get Garrett Wilson back, so the stack is easy. And so, yeah, for Millie lineups, I think this is great. I mean, you have to know there's a good chance he sucks, because we've seen him suck, and he scores 6 fantasy points and he kills your lineup. But there's also a really good chance he drops 31 and Garrett Wilson drops 26 and no one was on that.
Yeah, I like that call. That's I've not been thinking about him just because the Browns defense is too scary. But as you say, like, Justin Fields always capable of putting up a big score.
And they tend to always come in these man heavy matchups. Maybe Cleveland will adjust and shift to zone. They did that in one game this year against the Dolphins, and Tua, we all know, is so much better against man, but every other game they were like 35% man rate or higher. Yeah. Shout out to MPH. Maybe the ascot is in play. I probably wouldn't go there, but
oh God, is he still the ascot this year? Is he still doing well? Or we just call him that
not to the same degree, but he is popping in a number of stats. He's averaging over 3 yards per route run.
Damn. Okay. All right. Go 80 Mitchell. Tua, like I'm almost interested just because he's going to have to throw it so much and pretty condensed with the weapons there. Do you have any interest in Tua and any other quarterbacks you want to talk about?
No.
All right. Let's move on to running backs. So at the top of ownership is Rico Dowdle. He is 6,300, projected for 33% ownership. Tetairoa McMillan looks like he is truly questionable, maybe even more likely to miss than play this game based on the coach speak from Dave Canales. Do you think that helps or hurts Rico Dowdle? How much interest do you have in Rico Dowdle?
Yeah, I think it probably helps Rico Dowdle. I mean, this is already probably the most run-heavy offense in football. They collectively, Panthers running backs rank either first or second in carries, despite ranking bottom 5 in lead percentage. And yeah, this is just something we talked about. We went all in on Rico Dowdle. His first 200 yards from scrimmage game. This is an underrated player. He ranks top 3 in yards per carry, top 3 in rushing yards. It's a really valuable role, this Dave Canales RB1 role. It was the Rico Dowdle show last week, 76% backfield XFP share. This to me, I think he's maybe a lock button play.
Yeah, I think if we have a lock button play,
he should be like 7,700 to me. I don't know.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, I guess
what's A-Chan? 7,400? Yeah, it should be somewhere around there.
I was debating whether I think Tetairoa McMillan being out is a positive or a negative for Dowdle, because it's already such a smash spot that it's one of those that I'm like, I don't know that I want any variables thrown into it for Dowdle. Just keep things as they have been, and now you take away the top receiver. Are they just going to be able to load up the box even more. I don't know. So it's debatable, but I think regardless.
Well, the weird
like,
thing is that the total moved up after
did it
the
really?
McMillan
That's wild.
news. Yeah, because Chris and I were debating about it. But yeah, I don't know. I just think they go crazy run heavy. I don't even know how much it matters just because, like, dude, Ted McMillan is a baller. He is so good, but Bryce Young is so ass. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, they haven't really done anything together. Or, you know, they're not connecting on these throws.
Yeah. Scott, a real hater of number 1 overall draft picks. I mean, Trevor Lawrence,
Yeah.
Bryce Young, all these number 1
Caleb
picks.
Williams.
Caleb Williams, man.
But the thing is, I'm not wrong. Like,
it's true. You don't seem to be
I
wrong.
get so much shit on Twitter, and like it just makes me want to double, triple down. Dude, Bryce Young is not a functional quarterback. I thought he was going to lose the job. I thought Andy Dalton was going to come in, ball out, Tech McMillan, 150-yard game. Andy Dalton broke his thumb on like the third snap, the thumb to his throwing hand on the third snap of the game. If that didn't happen, like it might have just been curtains for Bryce. I really believe
Yeah.
it.
I thought that was going to be the case last year too, when Deontay Johnson started going off. But yeah,
I think the 2 worst takes I've ever had of all time was Dan Campbell got fired, and I watched the press conference, and I'm like, this guy is an idiot. He's a patsy. They hired him just to like tank for a year and get a competent. So that was one of the worst takes. The other one was I thought, you know, the scouts and GMs and old school football people talking about quarterback height, it was just like, it was stupid. They don't know what they're talking about. Drew Brees is a GOAT. This isn't, and it, like, no, now like I'm a heightist, like a 20-year-old girl living in New York City. Like it's 6'4" and up or nothing. And they talk about it. Like Brock Purdy talks about it. He's like, yeah, there's throws I can't see that a Brock Osweiler can see, or Mike Glennon can see. Yeah, dude, that's a real thing. Yeah. So
yeah, I mean, Kyler,
Bryce Young, Kyler.
Yeah, just all the short quarterbacks lately. And also to in your defense, I think literally everybody had that same thought after the Dan Campbell press conference, the biting kneecaps. Like everybody was like, this guy is an idiot. Like this is going to be, and now everybody loves him. Like clearly he's a sharp coach.
Nick Sirianni was the other guy with an all-time bad introductory press conference. He won a Super Bowl, but I still don't know if he's good or bad, and I don't think anyone in Philadelphia knows either.
I'm still unclear to me with Nick Sirianni. Liam Cohen, I mean the Duval, whatever, like the way.
I mean, that was just cringe. Like everything else he said was awesome. Like the dude.
Yeah, of course. All right. Devin Achane, as mentioned, is 7,400. Is Miami going to be able to move the ball at all here? Does it matter with his volume? How much interest do you have in Devin Achane at 7,400, 32% projected ownership?
Yeah, I think that's the big question is how much can they move the ball? I feel like worst case scenario, there's going to be enough garbage time for him to hit. This is basically like, imagine if Christian McCaffrey was like a Pro Bowl running back instead of like one of the best running backs ever, and then he was stuck on one of the worst teams in football. That's Devon Achane. The dude's XFP per game is unreal. He has a 21% target share since Tyreek Hill went down. That's like wide receiver 1 levels. They're 9.5 point dogs, so that should be good for target volume. And then on the ground, I've always talked about this. Buffalo begs you to run on them. Like it's a function of their defense where they're just so content to just let you rack up these 4, 5, 6 yard runs, so long as you're not beating them deep through the air. And so, yeah, this is Devon Achane, one of the most efficient running backs since he came into the league on the ground. He could really beat you both ways. I think there's the potential for a ceiling performance from him, like a GPP winning score. 20.5 implied point total isn't high, but that's not bad for the Dolphins. So, I think he's a really, really good play. I'm curious to see where our projections have him based on value, though. Can you click on fantasy points per dollar? Is he top 3? Yeah, he's top 3. Yep, that makes sense.
Yeah, he is. It's actually the order of ownership there. It's Dowdle, then Achane, then McCaffrey in terms of fantasy points per dollar.
Wow.
Interesting. And then you have Christian McCaffrey. Like the workload just so good for Christian McCaffrey. Matchup pretty bad here against the Rams, getting 27% ownership. How much do you think of? How much do you want of Christian McCaffrey at 27% ownership?
Yeah, I'll have to figure that out when I'm building, but like I obviously like I want a lot. He's a god. He is the best workload usage volume in fantasy points data history by a lot. He is really producing on the ground since George Kittle came back. 24 plus carries, 100 plus yards, and a touchdown or more in 2 of those 3 games. And then through the air, if you just like he like leads the league in carries, you throw all those out just by receiving fantasy points per game, he's what, top 10? He's ahead of Justin Jefferson. And so when you have stats like that, yeah, matchups don't matter at all. Like I don't think it means anything that Rams are good at. This is Christian McCaffrey. He's a wide receiver 1 plus a running back. So yeah, he's an amazing play. You could argue he should be 10,600. He has a ceiling now with Kittle back. And so yeah, he's I don't know. Do I even need to say anything about CMC at this point? It's just
No,
like,
you
dude,
don't
he's
really.
a god.
Yeah.
The GOAT.
Trevion Henderson more interesting because he's getting 16% ownership. Obviously, there's a big drop off in ownership after McCaffrey down to Trevion Henderson is 1,600, 5,600. To be honest, I thought this was going to pop out as a terrible matchup for Trevion Henderson. Doesn't or for running backs, I should say, against Tampa. Doesn't even actually pop as a negative. It's a positive matchup over the past 5 weeks in terms of schedule adjusted fantasy points allowed per game. And then you have what do you make of the argument that Vita Vea maybe doesn't affect Trevion, like the types of runs that he does on the outside as much as he would some other running backs? Like, do you have interest in Trevion Henderson?
I think that's a good argument with the Vita Vea thing, but I also think Vita Vea is overrated, and I feel like we've been overrating him for a couple of years. Like when I dug into the numbers, it didn't seem like substantial enough for him to be a guy to really, the on-off splits. But I also think that's a double-edged sword with Henderson, where you're talking about the outside runs. Yeah, he's not getting the inside runs, but and he only had 14 of the team's 25 backfield carries last week. That means there's limited touchdown upside. That means this isn't a good GPP play in my mind. Like, I get that he's popping as a value. I don't disagree with it. He had a 75% snap share. He had a 17.2% target share. The Patriots are underdogs in this game, so it fits that archetype of player. And Tampa Bay a little bit better on the ground, very vulnerable to pass catching running backs, all that. I just don't see the touchdown upside for a guy who's, splitting work 50-50, not getting the dirty work, the inside the 10 carries, the between the tackles carries. And like, he was good last week, and I liked how they used him. They used him with those, outside runs, which is how you should be using him. But this is also like the butt of every joke for 10 weeks of the season. Player everyone was making fun of. So a chalky Trevion Henderson with what I think is limited touchdown upside, that's probably a fade for me for tournament.
Yeah, I think that makes some sense. We then move on to a few.
But what are you going to do? You're not that aggressive with it.
With Trevion Henderson. I mean, so I will say the Sims were giving me a ton of Trevion Henderson. So I was like, I actually like, as I made adjustments, because I think my first run of Sims, I got to 45% before I adjusted anything. And then I was like, I really don't think he's that great of a play. So I probably do end up with maybe even above the field, despite not loving it, just because my Sims product is loving Trevion Henderson. So I probably end up around the field, maybe a bit over the field anyway. But I'm with you that he's like fine at 5,600. Like, this isn't a $4,500 Trevion Henderson. It's like he is competing with a lot of other running backs that look okay in his price range. And then there are
also. Is he a better play than David Montgomery? Does he have more upside than that? I don't think he does.
Yeah,
I don't think David Montgomery has a ton of upside either, but I like it over Henderson.
Yeah. And I wouldn't be surprised if the ownership comes in higher, because at this point, like, he is a name that people are excited to play, and he got all the work last week. So
Well, and everyone's just desperate for this running back value.
yeah, exactly. But before we get into those, like, we are coming up on a few of my favorite running backs after Trevion Henderson here. James Cook against Miami, like, they've actually been better against the run than kind of expected. Like, since the Quinshon Judkins 3-touchdown game, they have been pretty solid against the run. But I still think Cook, like, is just pretty good in any matchup. He's 7,500, but basically the same price tag as Devin Achane, getting less than half the ownership. And then I think my favorite running back play of the slate is Quinshon Judkins against the Jets, minus Quinnen Williams, minus Sauce Gardner. Seems like they should be able to run all over the Jets. I want your take on that. And finally, Derrick Henry. You mentioned him already, talking about the Ravens could go a bunch of different ways. But what are your thoughts on Cook, Judkins, and Henry? Any favorites here for you?
So we were on this really early. We were on this, a couple of years back, but like, this is the spot to play a James Cook is when Buffalo is heavy favorites. It's typically the James Cook show. And we, it's like when they need Josh Allen to be Superman, those are the spots to play Josh. But all other games, it's the James Cook show. And so there's that, but it's also, the guy has one catch since late September.
Yeah.
If he doesn't break off those 64-yard runs for a touchdown, and like, granted, it feels like he's doing that every single week. He had single-digit fantasy points in 2 of his last 4. I don't know. He is who he is, and like 15% is probably right. It's a boomer bust play, a boomer bust player. And he's of that archetype that just like has historically burnt me, like the Nick Chubbs of the world. And then Quinshon Judkins, yeah, I like him. I think I like him a little bit more than James Cook. I like him stacked with Cleveland Browns defense. He doesn't catch passes, but this is a spot where we expect Judkins the Browns to win this game. So good game script. We expect the Browns to go very run heavy. There's no Quinnen Williams. So this is a really good matchup. Ryan dug into it. It's also a really good schematic matchup. And so, yeah, I think Quinshon Judkins plus Browns defense, or with or without Browns defense, is a great play.
Love it. And then Derrick Henry, the other one that I brought up, but also, I mean, Kyron, like, sort of interest. Like, I don't know what we think of the Niners defense at this point. Like, is that a defense we need to be attacking weekly, since they're pretty banged up at this point? How much interest in Henry and or Kyron?
A lot of interest in Henry. This is a Minnesota run funnel defense. And, we were so excited to play Derrick Henry in week 1, and he gets Lamar Jackson back. He's playing well, 5.93 yards per carry. With Lamar Jackson on the field this year. Yeah. So it's really just, I think, like a hedge on, I want to be very overweight Henry on my non-Lamar lineups. But yeah, he's one of my favorite GPP running backs. Kyron Williams, a little bit lower on the list, but even with Blake Corum mixing in more, his role has been pretty good. 73% snap share, 20.2 Draftkings fantasy points per game over his last 4 games. Third highest implied point total, positive game script, which really matters for him. Price is decent. He's okay.
Okay. Yeah, that's kind of my thought on Kyron also. You already brought up David Montgomery, and it didn't sound like you're super interested, like, in the upside of David Montgomery, but we don't have much value at 5,000. I also want your thoughts on Jahmyr Gibbs. What are you thinking? Are you really interested in either of the Detroit running backs?
Yeah, I mean, it's, again, Gibbs is like James Cook. He just goes off, and I don't seem to be doing a great job of really nailing when that is. Especially when the ownerships are already high. If I have to be perfectly honest, I think I like David Montgomery more, just because, like, we really need to find some value at the running back position. And you look at his usage last week, He had 2 more carries than Gibbs, 1 more target than Gibbs. He had both of the team's carries inside the goal line. So if we get that usage again, I don't know. That's really tempting. Yeah, look at the XFP differential if you type in Lions.
Yeah, 14.4 Montgomery, 8.6
Crazy,
for
right?
Gibbs. Yeah, that is pretty crazy.
And it is the game script that should theoretically better suit Montgomery.
We also got the question, are we leaving Kenneth Walker for dead? So I'm skipping around here since I'm going to look at.
Yeah, sorry.
We're leaving Kenneth Walker for dead. I mean, more carries than Zach Charbonnet last week. 50% route participation for Kenneth Walker to 25% for Zach Charbonnet. So kind of a change into the guard to some extent, but that's not enough to entice you.
No.
All right, fine.
All right. No one hurt my reputation more this offseason than Kenneth Walker. So he is very
true.
dead to me.
I feel like every sharp fantasy football mind this summer was really in on Kenneth Walker. Ugh. Got me to draft a lot of Kenneth Walker, and he's shown little hints of he could be great, and then they just don't use him enough.
I have a lot of angry DMs from people mad about it.
Oh no.
And I apologize. We'll learn from it. We'll do better.
We'll move on. Yeah. We'll do better going forward. Somebody said we probably need to talk about DeAndre Swift. We also probably need to talk about Kyle Monangai. I don't know what to do. What do you make of the coach speak there that it's going to be a hot hand situation for the Bears? DeAndre Swift 6,100 projected for 7% ownership. Kyle Monangai 5,600 projected for 2% ownership. Another pretty strong matchup here against your New York Giants. If Swift, I guess we can do it both ways, but I assume Swift is playing at this point.
Yeah.
Are you also making that assumption?
I think so.
Yeah. So then do you have a lean there? Do you want to play either of them?
No, I'm probably avoiding it, but if I were an MME bro, I'd probably be overweight a little bit, whatever their ownership is, just because, like you said, it's a great matchup. Monangai is coming off of, what was it, 196 yards from scrimmage, and then Swift was kind of balling out before that. So, you could do that for sure. But for me, more 3-entry, single entry, I'm probably not going to get there.
Yeah. Cubs asking, what is my exposure to the Bears? So as of right now, things are being projected. Actually, let me look at the fantasy points projections. So what I was using had DeAndre Swift projected for double-digit ownership, Kyle Monangai single-digit ownership, and here we're still seeing Swift getting more. I think I'm going to kind of inverse it and play more of Kyle Monangai and just hope that they continue to play the hot hand. But Swift has actually been pretty good in that role, so I don't feel that strongly about it. That is my slight lean. If Monangai is going to be not getting a ton of ownership, I'll play the healthier of the two running backs for the Bears. What do you think of Aaron Jones at 5,200? Since we are starved for value, I'm just when he does get the ball from JJ McCarthy through the air, chunk plays happen. They've just been really good when they do connect. Only targeted, I think, 2 or 3 times last week. So the role has not been exceptional for Aaron Jones, but just every time I watch them together, I think that's a connection that could grow at some point, and then maybe they start focusing more on throwing it to Aaron Jones at some point. Only 2 targets last week, but I'm probably gonna go there a bit since I'm so starved for running back value. Do you have any interest in Aaron Jones?
Yeah, I don't. I don't really like these 50-50 committee backfields. Aaron Jones also hasn't really impressed me this year. I don't know that this is the spot for him. Really, it's just the committee thing, capping upside.
Yeah.
So I won't go there personally.
Yeah, I think that's fair. It's like a play it before you see it kind of spot for me, where I'm just it seems like they're trending toward just like Aaron Jones bell cow. Maybe that isn't the case, but I'm sort of hopeful that could happen. So I'll play some of it, but I also get your trepidation there. Tyrone Tracy was declared the starter once again this week. I actually have not read the coach speak there.
50-50 committee is what it came out to be. And if you watch the presser, dude, Tracy stinks. R.I.P. Scattaboo.
Yeah. That sucks. That really sucks. Another name that I want to hear your thoughts on, captain of the Washington Commanders, Chris Rodriguez, is 4,200. Not much for projection here.
That's a Neil ass play, huh?
That is a Neil ass play. Did you have any interest in Captain Chris Rodriguez in large field tournaments?
I honestly haven't really dug into it. I really
Okay.
haven't dug into it. It it's been such a committee, right? And like not a ton of volume really going to either guy. He did have 12 carries last week, 65 yards and a touchdown. 0 targets on the season. I won't get there, especially not in this matchup, but 4,200 is pretty cheap, and he could fall into the end zone once or twice.
Always Be Water says, Scotty, last week your favorite running back under 5% owned was Rico Smash. Who's your favorite low owned running back this week? And do you like that player as much as Dowdle last week? Monty, I did not remember that you loved Rico Dowdle last week and did not play Rico Dowdle. And I feel like it could have been a really strong week if I had just played some Rico Dowdle. Do you have a similar play that I can remember this week?
Yeah, I have one running back who I wrote up as my second favorite GPP play. I said I liked him more than Quinshon Judkins. I liked him more than James Cook. I liked him more than David Montgomery. Haven't heard anyone else really hype him up. I'll give you one guess for it, and then it's going to have to get paywalled. Before we get there, we can tease it. Did you have any Neil ass plays you wanted to talk about?
I mean, I guess Chris Rodriguez is the Neil ass play that I wanted to talk about.
What about I gave you one in DMs.
You did. You gave me Terrell Jennings in DMs.
Just the grossest of all time.
Yeah, I don't think I can do it.
No,
he could fall. Right. It would require that. That would require multiple touchdowns. It is a Neil ass play, but I don't know that.
I mean, we shit all over Travian Henderson, who's the third or fourth chalkiest running back in the slate. But yeah, if that hits, we have to print the Neil ass play shirts and donate a portion of profits to a colon cancer foundation.
I like it. I like that idea. All right, so your play that you like better than Quinshon Judkins is sub 5% owned. Am I hearing that right or no?
I didn't say that. I like more than James Cook. I like him more, and we haven't talked about him. I haven't heard people talk about him.
Okay, and I only get a lot of pressure on me right now.
Can I go to the bathroom and then
yeah, you go to the bathroom while I think about who this Scott ass play is going to be.
All right.
Okay. So I'm guessing because he is talking about this player in reference to a bunch of other players in that like 6,500 to 7,500 range, that it's probably a player in that kind of a price range. Nobody's talking about him. Now, we've already talked about all these running backs at the top. I'm afraid that it's going to be Rachaad White. It could be Breece Hall, I guess, because he is also he likes Justin Fields, so possibly Scott likes that game environment better than most do with the Jets. So I'm going to guess it's either, actually, I'm going to sort by salary here. So it's probably either Rachaad White or Breece Hall. I don't think it would be Travis Etienne against Houston, but it's possible. See, it seems too cheap. Yeah, I think it has to be. I think it's likely one of those two. Breece Hall or Rachaad White. I think I'm going to guess Rachaad White. Anybody? Debro says Breece Hall is a strong play. Mike thinks this is Travis Etienne. Just like Travis Etienne is so much cheaper that, like, I don't know. It seems like he's a different price range. So, like, I guess he's not that much cheaper than Quinshon Judkins, but he is a bit cheaper there. Steven guessed Derrick Henry. We already talked about Derrick Henry, though. A lot of people thinking that it is ETN. Even against that Houston defense, you guys think it's ETN? Should that be my guess? Like, he's not going to like Rachaad White, right? Oh, Shorty Vegas pick. Okay. Shorty is in on that one. Okay. Man. So I narrowed it down to 3 running backs, Scott.
All right,
the 3 running backs.
One guess, though.
I know, but I'm going to tell you who the 3 are that I've narrowed it down to, and I'm going to read your facial expressions as I say them. So I'm going to say it slowly. So first of all, I narrowed it down to possibly Breece Hall, possibly Rachaad White, and possibly Travis Etienne. Okay, so those I didn't get anything from Scott's facial expressions. I tried, guys. I am going to go with ETN. Is it Travis Etienne against Houston?
You nailed it. You got it. Congratulations.
Got it. Yep. You're welcome, everybody. Also, chat. A lot of
There's
people.
There's a lot of pressure riding on you, Neil.
There was so much pressure on me to get that one in front of the paywall.
Clutch.
We got it. We got Travis Etienne in front of the paywall. So you're not afraid of that Houston defense?
I mean, it's certainly not a great matchup, but to me, it kind of looks like Etienne is a little more game script sensitive than he is matchup dependent. If you look at what he's done in victories this year, Etienne's averaging 17 carries, 2.8 targets, 15.4 XFP. That's like RB10 levels, 15.6 DraftKings fantasy points per game. And keep in mind, some of those wins, he like Jacksonville trailed the entire game and just barely won in the last second. If you look at like games where he really dominated in game script, it was really just week 1 where he went off. And then it was last week where he had 27 touches. Also, Jacksonville coming out of the bye had their lowest P-row game of the season. So we love Dave Canales RB1s. But Liam Cohen running backs are kind of up there. Just brilliant play caller, great play designs. Should expect well above average levels of efficiency. I'm a big Basil Tootin guy, but we just haven't seen that. I mean, it's really been sort of the Travis Etienne show. And so Travis Etienne plus Jacksonville Jaguars defense up against a backup quarterback. I actually think Davis Mills is underrated. I think CJ Stroud is overrated, but that very well could be a really stupid call. Vegas is a lot smarter than me, probably. They have a ton of money, from super sharps who are saying that the difference between those two quarterbacks is worth 4.5 points. That's a lot. That's really a lot. So, I think that makes a ton of sense. Jacksonville also really good at forcing turnovers. So Etienne plus Jaguars defense. I like it just as much as Judkins plus Browns, if not more.
Wow, that is I'm a big Judkins plus Browns guy, but I will have to remember to play some Travis Etienne.
Well, he's $100 more than Henderson. I like him so much more than Henderson.
I mean, the difference to me is just the matchup is so great for Judkins against, or it might be. I think we don't know exactly what this Jets defense is going to look like going forward, but like also like sort of playing the narrative of like how is this defense going to respond to the team trading away its like two most tradable defensive players? Like are they just going to be like, are they going to have the same kind of motivation with backups in there? And a lot of the time you actually see backups come in and they're like the hungriest players on the squad. So I don't know, but it's just, I think it's just such a downgrade to that defense. So like, regardless of narrative, I think just like you replace some of their best defenders with backup defenders, they should be able to move the ball, I would think. So to me, it's
also the Browns though.
It is also the Browns.
Like the Browns aren't too much of a step above like the blatantly tanking Jets.
Yeah. That is true. But like Judkins has actually been pretty good. Like he's gotten good usage at least. I don't know. Yeah, I hear what you're saying. It's not like the smash of all smash plays. But yeah, you've convinced me. I will play some Travis Etienne. Any other running backs you want to talk about?
You ever watched like the read the body language like YouTube or the show?
No, I haven't.
Have like a CIA agent who's like specialized in that. I just thought that was funny. You were trying to read my tell. Like maybe some like CIA guy in here could have, his lip quivered and he looked up and to the left, which gave it away as Etienne.
There was somebody in chat that said you nodded. To be honest, I didn't think you gave anything away. I just guessed Travis Etienne because more of chat wanted me to.
I went on a date once and I was just talking to this girl. We were at the bar or whatever. And she was telling me she was doing that. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, read my body language. What does it tell you? And I had my hands clasped like this in my lap. And she was like, well, that means you're ashamed of your genitals.
Wow. That is hilarious.
And so there was no coming back from that. I'm like, damn. Wow. Okay.
That is tough.
Yeah. Well, and you ever see the green lines in photos?
Oh yeah. Leading in versus leading away.
Yeah. Can't, my one of my best friends, posted a picture like, oh, I just got a girlfriend. Like, check us out. We all did the green line to him in the group chat.
That's pretty great. Um, all right. Any other running backs? Like I guess if you like Woody Marks, part of the reason that, or sorry, if you like Davis Allen better than most, part of the reason that I've been out on Woody Marks is I like decided against it because of the Davis Mills coming in. Do you have any interest in a 1% owned Woody Marks at 5,100?
I don't. But maybe I could have given him more thought. Again, I'm not an MME bro like you, but yeah, one interesting stat I had on Davis Mills is like last time we saw him at quarterback, he didn't force feed Nico the ball. He actually had the lowest or the second lowest first read throw rate. So maybe he's going to spread the ball around. Chris and I kind of don't think that. We kind of think, dude, when you're a backup and you have a chance to start and like you want to hang around in the league, you just kind of lock in on your best player. And Nico wasn't Nico last time he was at quarterback, but hey, maybe that's just something inherent to him and who he is, and we see him spread the ball around, and it's a little bit of the um, yeah.
Woody Marks. Woody Marks get some more of it. All right. I don't think I have any other names to throw at you. Do you have any other running backs you want to talk about?
No.
Okay, we're going to move on to wide receivers. Starting at the top of ownership, it is JSN against Arizona, 8,600 projected for 25% ownership. Zay Flowers, 5,900, 25% ownership against Minnesota. I know you like a lot of Lamar Jackson. Are you primarily pairing him with Zay Flowers? And what do you think of JSN?
Yeah, I mean JSN is awesome. I don't know how much we need to say, but like uh I was saying to bet him to win MVP a number of weeks ago, and he's kind of only gotten better. And this is Jake Bobo's out, Torrey Horton's doubtful, Cooper Kupp is questionable. This is the nuts schematic matchup. I think the two most common defenses he'll see, he's averaging like 8.8 yards per route run against. Um, Zay Flowers, I think, yeah, he's just a tremendous value. So that's an added bonus to playing Lamar Jackson. Um, I think just because of the ownership, I would probably uh, be very underweight that on non-Lamar lineups. Um,
Is Arizona missing some corners? Debro says Arizona without corners this week. I guess I missed that they were they out last week.
yeah, I think they have two starting cornerbacks down. I have it in the slate breakdown. I'm just trying to.
Okay.
Was it in the Lamar section?
Yeah.
I don't know, but
Interesting. That's a good note. JSN is kind of like, I mean, you've described him as mini Puka, which to me is like you're always going to have some interest in JSN.
yeah.
Is that accurate? Yeah. Then you also get the real Puka there and Amon-Ra St. Brown against Washington. So a couple more pay ups to consider. Do you have a preference between Amon-Ra St. Brown and Puka? Are you playing both of them?
For sure, Puka. Just dude has been like insane on another level in terms of volume production. Um, this is a great matchup for him. San Francisco is the worst defense against slot wide receivers over the last 5 weeks. If you pull up schedule adjusted, that's where he runs 40% of his routes. So yeah, dude was looking like 2021 Cooper Kupp on steroids. So I don't have as much interest in Amon Ra in comparison. I liked him as well. If he's a lot lower owned than Puka and JSN, I'm into it. But I just don't think he's quite on that same level. Although he's been incredible. Like he's having a career year. If we give him just 3 extra yards last week, he would have at least 20.5 in 7 of his last 8. It's a top 5 matchup on paper, but yeah, to me, Puka and JSN are just in a league of their own, really, even if Amon Ra is the next closest.
Okay. You didn't have much interest in Josh Allen. I would assume you don't have a ton of interest in 16% on Khalil Shakir, or am I wrong about that?
No, I don't. I don't get that.
Yeah. Egbuka, 7,000, 15% ownership, another like sort of pay up option. How much interest do you have in Egbuka?
Yeah, well, the stat I keep referencing on him, and I think it's a fun one, I think it's a good one, is if you remember last year, Chris Godwin led all wide receiver or ranked behind only Jamar Chase in fantasy points per game. He goes down, and the games he's out, Mike Evans ranks behind only Jamar Chase in fantasy points per game. When both of them were out, Cade freaking Otton, who's never done anything else throughout the rest of his career, was averaging like 23 fantasy points per game. So clearly the number one in a Baker Mayfield offense, really valuable. No Chris Godwin, no Mike Evans. He was the wide receiver 3 through the first 5 weeks of the season, picks up a hamstring, wasn't productive, although the volume was really good. Should be fully healthy now, totally off the injury report, practiced in full all week. And so, yeah, I like Emeka Egbuka. Again, Nick, Football Insights, likes the Egbuka fade. Maybe he's a little worried about the injury. The matchup, like I said, Patriots kind of force you away from your first read. But I kind of side more with Chris and where he's projecting Egbuka, which is as a really high value above Amon-Ra, not too far from Zay Flowers.
Jawan Jennings is just 4,600. Seems like, the broken ribs and every part of his body being red thing is like not actually holding him back. Like he's being targeted pretty significantly. Still a nice price tag. Not the best matchup with the Rams. How much interest do you have in Jawan Jennings?
So yeah, Chris really likes him. The projections are really good on him. And I didn't hate that too much. I wrote him up as a cash play or a fringe cash play. I just don't see the upside there for tournaments. This is the most injured man in America. His role has been really good. He, 32% first read target share last 3 games. That's top 7, but he's not producing with it. And yeah, a guy who has, according to him, a high ankle sprain, a low ankle sprain, shoulders at 20%, 5 broken ribs. I don't think we could expect ceiling outcomes based on that. But and there's some other 4.5K ish range wide receivers I like and think have more upside at lower ownership.
Okay. Well, we'll move down to that lower owned range, but just a few more. First of all, Deebo Samuel getting 14% ownership at 5,600. Jefferson, I mean, we like that game environment. He's a little bit expensive at 7,900, but I'm curious to hear your thoughts on Jefferson at 7,900. Actually, let's start with Jefferson, and then I'll ask you about some of these cheaper guys. So first of all, Jefferson, 13% ownership, 7,900. Do you have interest there?
Yeah, I really just don't think he's touching the other guys I talked about. Like even if this was 6%, it's just the Puka, the JSN, the teardrop, Amon-Ra, Egbuka, bigger teardrop. And I'm an Addison guy, man. We've been talking about this.
Yeah.
5,400. You look at their last 15 games together, Addison is averaging 15.5 fantasy points per game. Jefferson's only like 1.2 above that, but the difference in salary is so much more dramatic. Basically wide receiver 11 levels of production on a full slate with no buys. He's priced as just the wide receiver 19 on this slate. It is a schematic matchup that is perfect for Jefferson, bad for Addison. And this is only Addison's second game with McCarthy, but still I like the value here at the price point, underrated upside. If you look at spike weeks too, really high for Addison, really underrated. And so you're 6% ownership.
Okay.
Yeah, I would rather just go there.
So you like Addison at 5,400, which brings me into that kind of a few that are a little bit chalkier in that kind of mid price range. But I'm curious your thoughts on Deebo is 5,600. Marvin Harrison Jr. I mean, you said that Trey McBride is the easy stack there, but like MHJ also looks a little bit better, I think, with Jacoby Brissett there. So those two, and then also you've got Diggs, you've got Wan'Dale Robinson. Like who are your preferences in this 5K range?
I mean, Harrison's for sure interesting. My lean would definitely be Trey McBride, who just still kind of seems like the alpha. Jacoby Brissett, we always talked about, targets tight ends at the highest rate in the league. McBride has just been incredible, balling out. It's been like, I don't know, 20 games since Harrison's had a 100-yard game. For sure, he gets an upgrade here, but I would much rather just go with McBride, unless you want to go with a double stack or whatever. But So you asked me about him. He didn't make the slate breakdown. Who else did you ask me about?
Debo.
Debo is another one where if you look at Chris's projections, he's a fringe uh, value for cash. I disagreed with that. I actually didn't even write him up. Obviously, like there's nowhere else for the ball to go, and so that has to make him look good. But dot dot dot. In 2 of 3 starts with Marcus Mariota, he's fallen under 15 receiving yards. I also think he's hurt, and he's one of these guys who never plays well with an injury. So I just disagreed. I didn't see the upside for tournaments, and there's plays I like more for cash.
I think you've already touched on both Diggs and Wandale Robinson, but can you remind me what your thoughts are on Diggs 10%, Wandale 10% projected ownership?
Yeah, so Ryan and Nick, both irrespective of each other, wrote up Diggs as an elite schematic play, or he has a great schematic matchup. And then even with that to the side, like he's had a target share over 30% in 3 of his last 6 games. No Keishon Boutte. It's a top 3 on paper matchup. And then, like I said, great schematic. To me, he's just like extremely volatile and hard to get right, and May likes to spread the ball around. But there's been these spots where, like I said, 30% target share with an MVP caliber quarterback, massive nuke potential, yards per route run, top 5 among all wide receivers. So extremely good value on FanDuel, underrated play on DraftKings. And I think that's what I would do with if I play May. I think this is actually a week for a double stack. Probably go Diggs and Kyle Williams is my lean. Hunter Henry is cheap, but I like Kyle Williams as a 1% owned minimum price play no one's talked about.
And you, as you mentioned, Wandale is strong on paper play at 5,300.
Yeah. So go to all. Don't go to the last one.
Okay.
And where does he? So yeah, number 1 matchup, and then not just that, but you see it's a slot funnel where out wide wide receivers minus 3.1. That's like top 10, top 7, but dead last against slot. So this should be a Wandale Robinson slot funnel. If he goes off, I'll be like, see, it was a slot funnel. But I didn't write him up, and I didn't write him up for 2 reasons. One, I'm not certain this is a great matchup because the Bears traded for Chauncey Gardner-Johnson Jr., who they had play in the slot last week. Bengals receivers didn't really do anything in the slot. He is a good player. And so maybe they're probably still bad against the slot because it's not just, a nickel corner. It's also the linebackers and the safeties and whatnot. It also, by the way, is a perfect schematic for Wandale. So he definitely could go off, but I hate Wandale. So I'm not going to play him, but you can.
I will.
Yeah.
I don't hate Wandale. It's very personal for Scott as a Wandale, longtime Wandale hater. Did get him right. The 1 week that Wandale went off was the 1 week Scott played him. So gotta give credit where it's due there. Man, Tez Johnson, you talked about other wide receivers that you like in that kind of range, 45, 4,600. We've got Parker Washington and Tez Johnson both getting double-digit ownership. Do you like either of those guys in the mid 4,000s?
It was Tez Johnson and who?
And Parker Washington.
Okay, yeah, I really like both of those. Tez Johnson, just really good, underrated volume usage over the last 3 weeks. It's a top 5 on paper matchup. He's way too cheap. It's also a player I like. It was one of these guys who just, he went round 7, but I think I said he was like the Kyron Williams of wide receivers, the Bucky Irving of wide receivers. So I think he's more talented than ownership is going to suggest and whatnot. And like I said, Nick Spinola thinks the lean is Tez over Igbuka. But I like Parker maybe even more. This was a player I had extremely heavy ownership to last week. You have Travis Hunter on IR, Brian Thomas Jr. is out, Hunter Long is out, and then who knows how much Jacoby Myers is going to play. Chris went with a 67% projected route share. Somewhere around that's probably right. So I think we're left with Parker Washington, who should be getting, it's no lot, it's not a sure thing, but excuse me, he should be getting the Liam Cohen slot role, which is very valuable role, the one we've all drooled over. And very quietly, he ranks 16th among all wide receivers and targets per route run. In the 3 of 4 games, he's cleared a 36% route share. He's seen 9 or more targets. And yeah, I think he's going to get like a 90% route share this week. So, and again, for all my disdain towards Trevor Lawrence, part of that is like he locks onto his first read. I know it, you know it, the defense knows it. But that could be a good thing for Parker Washington. He's not really this great separator. He just runs these shallow routes where he's immediately open. And I just see, Trevor hitting that over and over and over again. Last week, 9 targets, 8 catches, 90 yards. So another really good value at sub 5, 12%. Okay.
Yeah. People are still trying to make JMO happen. Are you trying to make JMO happen this week?
We're done with that. We're so done with that.
Yeah.
If an offensive coordinator multiple times says, like I've failed him, I don't want to play players who like can be failed so easily.
Yeah.
Even if that is the case, I kind of just think he's overrated, or he's just not what, I don't know. Some DFS pro is going to, play him, and maybe that hits and makes him some money. But
I mean, a lot of people are playing him. 9% projected ownership.
Why?
Yeah,
I mean, like, has anyone ever made money off of Jameson Williams once in his career?
I think that's a fair question. I'm not sure that they have. People were all excited about like, oh, we finally did it the other week, and it was like 18 fantasy points. It wasn't even like, it's like, okay, yeah, he had a fine game. He probably needs 2 touchdowns to actually pay off his price tag, which can happen.
He might be the most overrated player in DFS. Like, honestly, like since he came into the league, the most overplayed, cost you money.
And
wide receiver.
Best ball, he was like a 4th round pick this year in best ball. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not seeing it. Yeah, Bing King says that he's fine. I mean, yeah, he's fine. He just he had Debro says because JMO didn't have a solid week last week, he had a solid week. He didn't have like a winning like the kind of week you need, and that was his best week of the season. So anyway, we'll move on. Garrett Wilson. I mean, you said you like Justin Fields. Are you stacking him up?
Oh yeah, big time. That's part of the allure. I actually think Garrett Wilson is just a straight up really good play, especially for tournaments. Large field tournaments. Again, there's tremendous risk here because potentially tanking Jets. But despite, the Jets have sucked this year, and despite all their struggles, Garrett Wilson's averaging 9.6 targets, 19 fantasy points per game across his 5 full games. This is, if you look at schedule adjusted over the last 5 weeks, this is a top 5 matchup. This is a perfect schematic match. Wide receiver, out wide wide receivers. Is that what it is? Yeah. And Cleveland, 4th worst. This is a perfect schematic matchup. Garrett Wilson's so much better against man coverage. So must on all Justin Fields lineups, which I'm going to be overweight on for better or worse. And then even as a one-off, like I think that's very, very in play. The only problem is there's a guy 300 more who I like significantly more, or not. I like more, but large field tournaments, Garrett Wilson, awesome play, 7%. That's a bit silly.
Is it Jalen Waddle, the one who's 300 more that you love? Yeah. I mean, just awesome workload. So you have a lot of interest there.
Yeah. I hope I'm not being too, what's the word? Heavy-handed. But so he had this big play last week. It was a 36-yard catch, got negated due to penalty, where like everyone, including the announcers, were like, that was stupid. That's awful. That should have counted. If that counted, you would have had 9 targets for 118 yards. And so if you count that, and then you just exclude that one really bad weather game where neither quarterback, no receivers could get anything going, then he's averaging 21.1 DraftKings fantasy points per game, with a low of just 95 receiving yards since the Dolphins lost Tyreek Hill. Again, maybe I'm being a little heavy-handed here, but I think the bottom line is just he's way too cheap relative to this wide receiver 1 role, the production we're seeing. And here's a sneaky stat for you. The Buffalo Bills are giving up the second most fantasy points per game to opposing wide receiver ones this year. That really caught me by surprise. That's not schedule adjusted, but second most. And Christian Benford's out, or sorry, questionable. Their slot corner, Teron Johnson's questionable. So, yeah, I think Waddle's a really good play. Yeah, really good play.
Yeah, tough to argue that Waddle. I think it looks like a strong play. Also, yeah, like if you just look at the numbers without putting a heavy hand on it, it's like this is actually not as good. I looked into it yesterday because I was like, I feel like he's been awesome without Tyreek Hill. And it was like he's only like 35 targets in 5 games. Like, okay, only 7 per game. I would have guessed it was like 11, but like he's still producing fantasy wise. So, yeah, I think that makes sense as a strong play. Here's one that I kind of like as a leverage play, although I'm not sure how. I'm curious your thoughts on Devontae Adams, 6% projected ownership at 7,700. As you noted, though, it's kind of a slot funnel matchup. So that obviously benefits Puka more than Devontae Adams. Do you have any interest in a lower owned Devontae Adams in what should be a pretty good matchup?
He just feels a bit expensive to me.
But, he's definitely too expensive, yeah.
And I really want to just, Puka's the guy. But hey, he got hurt last week. He's been dealing with some injuries. And Adams just really profiles as this great high upside play who has this like massive slate wrecking upside that we haven't seen yet, just because he's getting all of the end zone targets and all of the deep shots, which Stafford playing at a really, really high level, but just like barely missing Adams on an inordinately high number of those deep shots. So it's going to happen at some point. Hopefully not this week, because I don't think I'm going to have any. I don't think I'm going to get to any Adams, but yeah, I wouldn't fault anyone for getting there.
Does Olave without Shaheed get any kind of bump for you?
Yeah, I think he's in play. I think he's one of these fringe guys. I know I wrote him up. Looks like he didn't make the slate breakdown. He was one of the cuts I made. But yeah, dude, he's an XFP god. Now no Shaheed. You have to think he gets even more force fed. Just the flip side of that is Tyler Shuck sucks. And he didn't target Olave last week. So that would be the concern.
Is this a Romo Dunze bounce back week?
It certainly could be. I have trouble making sense of what's going on with him.
Yeah.
He's really sucked since the bye. If I wanted to be heavy handed, I would say Cincinnati shuts down opposing number ones with bracket coverage. And there was that bad weather game. And then there was that other game where maybe it was just variance. But I don't know. I think he's just volatile. And I think part of that is Caleb Williams bottom 5 in accuracy. But even if that is the case, it's still, a guy who pre-bye was top 5 in fantasy points per game, has had these spike weeks. It is a really good matchup. It is a perfect schematic matchup. By yards per route run, targets per route run, he goes from like 35th to 6th against man coverage, which the Giants play at the highest rate in the league. And then you have the squeaky wheel narrative, which I was kind of stoking the flames of the fire. I was tweeting with James Odunze. He was retweeting, talking about how we got to get our boy the ball more.
That's right.
So yeah, so maybe that happens. Ultimately, fairly low on my list, but a player I did write up.
You are the Rashid Shaheed whisperer. Now he gets his first game in Seattle at 5,200. Not going to get a ton of ownership. Do you have any feel for whether he gets going in his first game?
Yeah, again, I didn't write him up. This is something that this morning I've been thinking more and more about, where, maybe he doesn't pop as a value, but I feel like they have no choice but to give him a full workload. And he does have familiarity with the Clint Kubiak offense. And he's really good. This is a player I love. And I've been talking all year about how this wide receiver 2 role on the Seahawks could be so valuable if it wasn't occupied by a dusty Cooper Kupp. So he's definitely a better play than 3%. How good of a play is he? I'll need to give that some more thought, and I'll probably talk about it in Discord tomorrow or on the Johnny show. But yeah, certainly better than 3%.
You mentioned liking Darius Slayton. He's 4,300, or you liked him last week. I don't know if you still like Darius Slayton this week at 4,300, 5% ownership. And then I'll also throw out the name Ray McLeod, running a lot of routes there for the Giants. Any interest in Ray and or Slayton?
I'm not on Ray. Not on Wanda. And part of that is just I like Darius Slayton, bro. We had some screenshots in Discord. We had like one guy with multiple screenshots where if Darius Slayton didn't drop that touchdown pass, would have won insane amounts of money. Would have went from like sixth to first in two different tournaments. But yeah, so 2 games without Malik Neighbors last year. Darius Slayton averaged 11 targets, 19 fantasy points per game. This year, Slayton averages just 6 targets, 7.3 fantasy points per game. But he's gotten unlucky. He had that brutal drop last week in the end zone. And then the week before that, he had a touchdown catch negated by an OPI, which like was total BS. But if you counted just those two, he had some other brutal drops, which are just not going to count. He'd be averaging 6.5 targets, 20 fantasy points per game over the last 2 weeks. So he's a much better play than 5%. 4,300 implies good upside. That is my preferred Jackson's dart stack. Not an amazing play, but just underrated upside.
I mean, that's not really bad luck if he's dropping the ball, right? That's just like we got to factor that in at some point. Has he been?
Yeah,
I guess
that's fair.
has he been bad with drops historically? I guess I don't think of him in the same like way. I think of QJ.
I don't think so. But like drops aren't really sticky, which is something unless you're at the extreme and you're just like, oh no, this dude just can't hold on to the ball.
Okay.
So we do kind of count that as a regression stat.
Okay.
But yeah,
interesting. Tedero McMillan, I think seems to me like he's closer to doubtful than he is probable. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but just
I'm not going to play. There's no way I play him.
But what about anybody else? You going to play any Xavier Leggett or Jalen Coker? Anybody?
Cheap, yeah. Probably not. But I don't know. We'll see. Did Chris update projections? Is Tet
I don't believe so, but let me actually look. What is Tet's? Oh, maybe he did. I guess I'm not seeing Tet in here.
Here, I'll control F it. We'll sort by value. See if any Panthers pop up.
Yeah, Parker. Oh no, wait, Panthers. They're not popping to the top. Or 15th and 16th.
Yeah. So hey, if you want a crazy game stack, you can go with Olave, Coker, and Leggett. But yeah, I'm not going there.
All right. Anybody that I have not mentioned that you're really interested in?
Oh, snap. It was weird you didn't mention Nico Collins.
Oh, that's right. You like see I had been thinking about playing him, and then with Davis Mills at quarterback, I kind of was like, maybe not, but you like Davis Mills better than most do. So then Nico Collins at 7% ownership looks pretty good.
Well, here's what it is. CJ Stroud ranks bottom 3 in all accuracy metrics. He's also like facing pressure at one of the highest rates in the league. That was the case last year as well. And I wonder how much of that is a CJ Stroud thing. Like maybe that's a struggle diagnosing pre-snap thing, or maybe not. Maybe there's just like an awful offensive line, but I think we're about to find out. What I do know is Mills really locked on to Collins last week, gave him 21 XFP in just 3 quarters. Collins came very close to scoring. He fell just like 6 inches short at the goal line. It's a top 3 on paper. It's an ideal schematic matchup. He's cheap. He's low owned. So that's a good large field tournament Millie play for sure. Okay.
Actually, a name that I want to throw at you, Rashad Bateman, is just 3,900. All the ownership going to Zay. Bateman has, he had a couple games over 20 fantasy points last year. I think he's historically better with Lamar Jackson than without. So he's kind of a small sample size with Lamar this year. It's sort of a play it before you see it for this year, but we've seen it in past years. Do you have any interest in Rashad Bateman here at 3,900?
No, I'm a Mark Andrews guy this week.
Okay. So you're not on Bateman. Any of these Cleveland receivers?
Like someone said, I mean, like no one's more due than Judy, and no Sauce Gardner on this team. So I wouldn't hate anyone. Yeah, you can go there, top XFP regression candidate on the season by far. So wouldn't fault anyone. I don't have the stones to do it, but kudos to you if you do.
This is negative 6.1 coverage grade here, right? I don't know. Do you ever want me to pull up Bateman versus man versus zone?
Well, we do have the new man versus zone table.
Oh, you do? Okay, let me see that. Where's that? Under receiving?
Yeah, scrolled receiving man versus zone. Right
there we go. Okay. I have not used this
Ravens.
Yet. Yep.
Let's see. I gotta come up to the screen. I don't know. He's better against man, but he's not very, very good against it. Or maybe they were talking about the separation tool, because he is a better separator than he is a producer, at least.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, much better, at least in terms of yards per route run versus man. Really bad against zone. That's interesting. Anyway, we don't really need to spend that much time on Rashad Bateman if you're not interested.
I'm not.
Okay, then let's move on. Any other receivers that I have not brought up that you have interest in?
Kyle Williams. That's my Galaxy Brain play of the week. If it hits, we need to come up with Galaxy Brain shirts with my face on it and Neil Ass plays with your face on it.
Yeah, for sure. Love it.
Do something like that.
Yeah. Oh, D-Bro is still there. We're not going to go back to it, but D-Bro says it would pop more in 2024, apparently, for Rashad Bateman.
All right. Oh, okay. That makes sense.
All right. Should we move on to tight ends?
Yeah.
All right. Moving on to tight ends. In terms of ownership, we've got George Kittle at 18%, Trey McBride at 17%, Hunter Henry 13%, Mark Andrews 10%. Those are your 4 in double digits. Any tight ends standing out to you this week?
Not George Kittle. I think that's bad.
Yeah, his I think you tweeted about his separation score pretty bad so far this year.
Yeah, he's just so clearly hurt. Like I quote tweeted a tweet from his first game where he said, "Oh yeah, my hamstring was fully torn," which is like, that's impossible to play through. And I know these guys exaggerate, but like when Kyle Shanahan has talked about George Kittle, he has done this multiple times where he's like, well, if George Kittle wasn't a freak of nature, he'd be out for the year and then some. But because he has Wolverine's super fast healing magical abilities, he'll probably play in a week, knowing him. The dude is just superhuman. Like literally, he's said that in press conferences multiple times. George Kittle plays through everything, and he plays through everything at a really high level, typically. If you look at his injury history during the year, after the year, this is Kyle Shanahan saying this, or it's Kittle saying it. It'll be like, at the end of the year, yeah, well, Kittle had a few things. He had a torn bicep, and he had a grade 7 high ankle, but he was still out there 80% of it. Like, so like I kind of believe this when it's George Kittle saying this is a really bad injury, but it's also just clear as day on tape. And it's clear as day in the stats. You look at his ass since he came back, he ranks second worst of 50 tight ends in average separation score. George Kittle is so good. He's so much better than that. So I am not going to play a seriously hurt George Kittle, at least not until Brock Purdy's back, because, but I'm not going to play him this week at chalk. I'll let ETR and everyone else play him, and then hopefully get him much lower owned when either Brock Purdy's back or we see the ass start to climb. And so that's my lean.
Trey McBride is 6,000, not projected for crazy high ownership. He stands out from a projection standpoint, like just by far the best projection on the slate. How much interest do you have in Trey McBride?
Yeah, he's an unbelievable play. Like I said, 22 games with Kyler Murray, 3 games with Jacoby Brissett. He has more touchdowns with Brissett in his career. Insane. Averaging 28% target share, 10.3 targets, 22.4 fantasy points per game. That would be more than any wide receiver but Puka. 21.5 XFP. That's more than any wide receiver. Top 10 matchup. Seattle, technically a tight end funnel. So yeah, he's a great play.
Okay. You already brought up Mark Andrews as a player that you like in this matchup at 3,400.
Yeah, that was just something I was digging into. Is so I love Lamar. Lamar and Andrews are really highly correlated together. Where if Lamar has a major spike week, he typically brings Andrews with him. And then even like throwing out that correlation, you just look at what he's done in recent weeks, or actually over a fairly long sample. He's hit double-digit fantasy points in 9 of his last 11 with Lamar under center, even over his last 17. He's averaging 13 fantasy points per game or more over his last 11 or last 17. But over the last 17, in his top 50% of games, averages 18.5 fantasy points per game. So there's a clear ceiling here. He's for sure boomer bust, but I mean, the potential rewards greatly outweigh the risks at 3,400. And like I said, I think he's a really good stack with Lamar.
I skipped past Hunter Henry. You already talked about him a bit. Also, as somebody who is playable with Drake May, but 13% ownership, 3,500. Do you have a lean on whether you'll be above or below that, or whether you would be in a 150?
Yeah, I'd probably be below that for sure. He just hasn't done anything since the first month of the season. I know Boutie's out, but I'm kind of excited about Kyle Williams. But maybe that's just my Galaxy brain.
So I don't really have any strong takes on tight ends here. I do actually. Here's one that I want your thoughts on: is with Cole Kmet back, are we still going to Colston Loveland at 4,100?
I don't think so. It was just the nuts matchup last week against the Bengals, and like you said, Kmet's back. I mean, he's a talented player. I could see it. 2%, like you said. So yeah, versus ownership, that's a pretty tempting play, but wasn't a player I wrote up who didn't immediately stand out to me.
Okay. Juwan Johnson seems to be heavily targeted by Shuck, who was his college teammate. How much interest do you have in Juwan
I don't think he actually ever threw Juwan the ball in a game in college, but
okay, yeah, interesting.
They were technically teammates, which is so insane. Yeah, I think there's a bunch of these sub 4K tight ends who are in play. Like I said, Andrews is probably my favorite, but
okay,
there's a bunch of those. I like Dalton Schultz. I probably like him less with Davis Mills, but he has been really productive over his last 5 games, 4 games. He's hit 60 yards in 3 of his last 4, 6 or more targets in 5 of his last 6. And he gets a top 3 matchup against the Jaguars. So he is interesting. Cade Otton too. Mike Evans, Godwin both out. Averaging 60 yards per game over his last 4. So he's another sub 4K who's interesting.
Okay. Anybody else you want to talk about at tight end, or should we make some lineups?
Yeah, well, I really like Laporta a lot.
Oh, okay. All right. There's one.
Especially same price, but half as owned as Kittle. I like that angle. Very quietly, he's hit 16.5 fantasy points in 3 of his last 4 games, averages 15.7. Is coming off a season high in catches, season high in receiving yards. So you have John Morton just keep, we're going to get Isaac Tesla more involved. We're going to get Jameson Williams more involved. And I self-flagellated with a whip in my office because I feel so bad. He hasn't. Yeah, you keep saying these things, but like Laporta is the one who's actually producing. So maybe they're just bullshitting to like keep these guys happy. I don't know, but yeah, Laporta seems very underrated at ownership and price.
All right, so Laporta is the tight end play.
And then Kincaid has a 100-yard game in 2 of his last 3. He ranks behind only JSN and Puka in yards per route run. That's pretty insane. Like just right there, not saying anything else. I don't trust him. He has like a 50% route share in every game this year, but for tournaments, he's something to think about.
There was a game a little while back where on a showdown slate he was like 8,000, and I was like, and he was like 30% owned or something. I was like, this is the worst chalk I've ever seen. And then he crushed in that game, and he's been kind of crushing ever since. It's like he's like running 50% of the routes, usually not targeted that heavily. He's been a little bit more recently, but that had to eat my eat my words there. He's been producing more than expected. I think I'm with you though, that I don't see it holding up for the rest of the season. All right. Lineup time. Unless you have any other thoughts you want to throw out.
Do you have any defense thoughts for me?
Defense thoughts for you? Yeah, I have huge opinions on defenses.
Who's the must-play contrarian defense?
I mean, they're not contrarian, but the Browns look pretty good to me. I know we like the field side of it. Let's see, contrarian. Let's see, Buffalo. Pay up for Buffalo against Tua. That makes sense to me. I actually think the Giants at 20, they're only 2,500 projected for 3% ownership against Caleb Williams. Looks like a pretty strong play to me. The Saints are only 2,400 against Bryce Young. That looks really good to me. You can play my Minnesota Vikings at 3% ownership, 2,300. I'm with you though. I'm going to be playing a lot of Lamar, so I don't really love it. Houston, of course, looks great against Trevor. Great defense against Trevor, so that looks like a strong one. So there are actually a number of pretty strong defenses here, in my opinion. The Rams at 3,200, they just have a really good defense. They look pretty good. Do you have leans here?
Can you just sort by fantasy points per dollar real quick?
Yeah.
Yeah. Browns, Bucks, Jaguars.
Yeah.
Oh, Buccaneers are high. That's kind of surprising to me. Drake May takes a lot of sacks, but yeah, I don't know. I'm not a. You're the defense expert, Neil.
I didn't know I was.
I don't think I've had a defense score more than 5 fantasy points since I took down the red zone.
I probably do need to start putting my thumb on defense a little more, because I actually think that I have been pretty good with it with defenses. Like historically, just like trying to guess which defenses are going to pop at low ownership is something that I have done well in the past. And now since I've started using Sims, I'm just like, I'll let the Sims handle it rather than thinking about defenses. But maybe that is something that I need to try to put my thumb on the scale again, because I've had some success with it in the past. But let's get to building lineups. Now, is Lamar the first place we want to go here?
Sure.
Lamar, Mark Andrews.
Sure. Zay Flowers. Addison. We can take one of those guys out if we feel that's too spicy, of course.
If we need to, but we can start there. Running backs, Dowdle sounded like was kind of a lock for you.
Yep.
ETN, you were pretty high on ETN, 5,700.
Yeah, let's throw in Jacksonville defense too to make it easy on ourselves.
Now we just got 2 spots left. This is just like this lineup is making itself here. 69.50 left to play.
I love that. Those are typically the best ones too.
Yeah.
Waddle.
We could go to Diggs. We go to Waddle. Oh yeah, Waddle looks good. And then we have enough left for James Cook or Devin Achane.
And you get the mini there. I would, then you get the mini there. I would YOLO.
This is great. That's a beautiful lineup.
It made itself. So we got to cut this lineup in on the winnings.
Yeah, this lineup is going to get 1/3 of our winnings. Yeah, it's a beauty. We got Lamar Jackson with Zay Flowers and Mark Andrews, Jordan Addison bring back. Then we've got Dowdle, ETN with the Jaguars defense. Got Waddle, James Cook, little mini stack as well. Beauty. That's just a beautiful lineup right there. Uses the full salary cap. Don't dupe us though. Do not dupe us. All right, let's make another one. Now, other quarterbacks to consider here. Let's see. You liked Fields quite a bit. Should we just do a Fields with Garrett Wilson?
Yeah.
Do we want to do a Judkins bring back in that one?
You can.
You don't like him as much as I do.
No, I do.
I'm gonna put him in there for now.
I do like him, but I think he's more of a. I don't know that he's a bring back play. I think he makes more sense.
as a one-off where the
Well,
Browns
that's what I was
just
trying to figure
dominating.
out. I mean,
I think
do you
that's
remember
true.
the
I think
Cowboys game where Fields scored 29 of his 30 fantasy points in the fourth quarter?
right. Yeah, that's true. We
So
could see that.
It could be that. To me, it's more of like Fields just totally like shits the bed, and Judkins gets multiple touchdowns, and the defense smashes as well. Let's keep it open ended for right now.
Yep, I think that makes sense. D says could bring back Njoku. Yeah, especially if Fannin misses, then I would be pretty into Njoku, I think, or at least somewhat into Njoku. So I don't hate that idea. But we'll leave the stack, the bring back open for now. Do we just put Dowdle in here again?
YOLO, yeah, love Dowdle, the goat.
The goat.
Let's do JSN.
Okay. 47.60 left.
Let's do McBride.
Yep. Nice little mini there.
Let's do Etienne Jacksonville again.
Sure. Carolina defense, I don't know if I like that. Could work though.
Oh yeah, which one's cheaper? Either way, doesn't really matter.
Yeah, it looks like it is the Jaguars are cheaper. And then we have 47.50 left per pick with a receiver and a flex. So we could pay down at receiver. Do you want to go Kyle Williams as a one-off, or is he just in stacks?
Yeah, we could do that. We could do Tez Johnson. We could do who's the other? Parker Washington.
Yeah. I mean, if we did Kyle Williams here, we would be able to get
Judy.
Judkins.
YOLO. Okay. Young money.
Julie bring back 5,600 gets this to Trevion Henderson, Kyle Monungai, Debo Samuel, Jordan Addison again. Marvin Harrison. Yeah, I don't know. Rashid Shaheed leaves 400 on the table.
Nah, screw it. Let's do Travion. We'll just be chalked out. Like as much as I shit all over him, he's fine. The running back chalk has just owned everyone all year.
Yeah. Boom. All right. So we got Justin Fields single stack with Garrett Wilson, bring back of Jerry Jeudy. We've got Rico Dowdle one off, Travis Etienne with the Jags defense, JSN and McBride mini, and then we have Trevion Henderson as a one off as well. It's a beauty. Do you want to do another one? Do you want to get out of here?
Yeah, let's do one last one.
All right, we're going to do one more lineup here.
You want to do Jacoby or Drake May to get Kyle Williams in a lineup?
Let's do Drake May. Actually, I like that. I like the idea of Drake May. Do you want to double it with Diggs?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, I think that's a fun one. Boom. All right.
Yeah, and so then there's two ways to play it. Do you want to go Egbuka or Tez and Otten?
I think I want to go Egbuka. Let's just get the easy one in there.
Okay.
We still have 55.60 left per pick.
Let's do Laporta.
Yeah, 4,400 Laporta. Do we like anybody on? I don't think we like any Washington. We could do my guy C-Rod, but I don't think we need to do that in this lineup. What other running? We have not played. We have not played Achan. Then we could do
Judkins Browns.
Yes. I want that.
Hell yeah.
Judkins Browns leaves us 6,600 for the flex. Kyron, Waddle, Dowdle.
Oh, Dowdle. Let's go, baby. That's a lineup.
Drake May double stacked with Diggs and Kyle Williams. Bring back of Emeka Egbuka. We've got Achan one off, Judkins with the Browns defense. Egbuka, we did that. Sam Laporta as a one off, and then Rico Dowdle once again, absolute beauty, leaves 300 on the table. There you go. Won ourselves $1 million. Easy game. All right. Scott, what else do you want to shout out before we get out of here?
Right now, college football subscription is only $5. You get that for the rest of the year. That's good through March. Yeah, but it expires in like a day or two. So hop on that. College football has been a print fest for our subs. DFS is a lot softer. Prop betting is a lot softer. Our customer satisfaction on it is like 900%. It's been hard to get people excited about it. But it's just like you make the cost of your sub back like immediately. Well, especially now that it's $5. So check that out. If you're already a member, you can ask Discord if they're happy with their college football sub. Like all I've seen on Discord is people like, this is so good. So yeah, check that out. Only $5. Fantasypoints.com.
Oh yeah, check that out. Of course, use promo code OTP15 for 15% off.
Oh, you get an extra 15% off. So it's $4.50.
Insane value. Yeah, you got to check it out. You got to use the promo code OTP15. Of course, if you're not already subscribed to, there you go. I was like, what happened here? Who's taking over my screen? If you're not already subscribed to the Fantasy Points YouTube channel, make sure you subscribe. And of course, like this video if you haven't already done so. You can see at Fantasy Points, at Fantasy PTS CFB is the handle here if you want to check out the Twitter handle of the Fantasy Points account. Recommend checking that out as well. I think that's it. Yeah, like the video, subscribe to the channel, give us a shout out. If you win some money, you can win some Fantasy Points merch if you win a big payout using advice from the show. That's going to do it though for the show. Thanks everybody for hanging out with us this week, and we'll see you next week.
What?
Why are you shaking your head? You're welcome.